In this video, we speed up our PC productivity, entering keyboard shortcuts via remote control. Hello everyone, and welcome to TechFixFlix. In this video, we install and take a tour of Xencelabs Quick Keys, a remote controller for PC, Mac and Linux, featuring an LED screen, 8 programmable buttons and a scroll wheel, allowing us to assign up to 40 commands per application, as well as 4 scroll wheel modes. Long-time viewers of the channel will be familiar with our series featuring the Elgato Stream Deck, and, much like those tutorials, we will be somewhat repurposing Quick Keys away from its intended use as a complement to tablets for graphic artists, toward a more general use profile for all-purpose computer control. In the box, we find the Quick Keys remote, as well as a stylish protective shell case. Inside the case, we find a USB-C cable, which can be used both to recharge the device's internal battery and to connect the remote in wired mode or provide initial pairing for wireless operation. Also provided is a wireless dongle and USB-C to A adapter. Additional dongles can be purchased separately. Links to purchase Quick Keys can be found in the written description accompanying this video. Software installation is incredibly straightforward, and we head to the download page shown on screen now and also linked in the description. Note that drivers are available for macOS, Windows and Linux systems, and in this instance we'll follow a Windows 11 installation by clicking on the download link, which downloads an 18 MB installer application, which we click to run. Where user account control appears to request authority for the installation, we click yes to proceed, noting that we can suppress future messages of this type by following the tutorial shown on screen now, and again linked in the description. Once the installer launches, we tick to acknowledge our consent to the software license agreement, and we could simply click install to begin the installation process. As ever, we opt to customize our installation, and the only available option here is to amend the installation location by clicking browse and navigating to a folder of our choosing, before also clicking install. After a very short installation, we can now plug in the hardware dongle, which is located in the inside flap of the hardshell case. Once plugged in, switch on the remote control by moving the slider on the bottom of the device. You should see this screen, and we'll pick up at this point in a few moments. If, like us, you've purchased a second dongle for installation on a secondary device, there may be a few additional steps to complete. Briefly checking the guided setup, we see that no devices have been detected on our system, as unlike the primary setup, the secondary dongle isn't automatically paired with the remote, and scanning for devices won't produce the desired outcome. Moving back, we opt for a manual setup, which results in a suspiciously quick finish. We untick the option to register immediately in order to progress to device pairing. As pairing has yet to be completed, we see that there are no entries in the My Products dialog, so we take the cable supplied in the shell case, connecting one end to the remote and the other to a USB slot on our PC, using the supplied adapter if necessary. This immediately prompts the appearance of the device in the panel. At this point, however, we have only established a wired connection, and removing the cable will break the pairing. We now need to use the wired connection to create the wireless link. We therefore click the Settings cog, and from the menu which appears, select Pair Device to Dongle. We see that the dongle offers 2 connection slots, one of which is pre-configured to a pen tablet, which we don't own. We'll leave that alone and open slot number 2 by clicking on it. In the next dialog, we see our Quick Keys listed as a connected USB device, and we double-click it, opening the confirmation dialog where we click yes to finalise the pairing. Returning to the previous window, we now see our Quick Keys as a paired device. We can now unplug the connecting cable. The device listing will briefly disappear as the connection transitions from wired to wireless. Once the device reappears, it's now connected wirelessly. Anyone performing an initial setup should benefit from automatic pairing, and will rejoin the tutorial at this point. Clicking the device opens the main configuration panel, and we'll now tour the functionality offered by the device, starting with the options provided by the settings icon in the upper right. We begin with a fundamental option, namely the orientation of the remote. All 4 options are selectable, and the orientation of the LED screen will change in accordance with our preference for portrait or landscape orientation, as well as the position of the dial. We prefer a portrait orientation, with the dial at the top, so we opt for a 90-degree rotation, and this is immediately reflected in the on-screen image. Note that we can also assess battery usage from the indicator to the right. Returning to the menu, we can rename our unit by typing a new name in this box and selecting OK. Doing so will be reflected wherever the name is referenced. We can select a sleep timer, which will allow the LED screen to shut down, conserving battery life. By default, this is set to never. On a similar theme, we can select between 4 levels of screen brightness, with the brightest level set as the default. Finally, we have the option to copy device settings from any previously registered device profiles. As this is a new installation, we have no existing profiles from which to select. The dial offers 4 modes per application, and each mode is assigned a colour for ease of identification. By default, Mode 1 is for scroll, indicated by an orange colouring. Mode 2 for zoom is red, Mode 3 for rotate is yellow, Mode 4 for brush size is green. Clicking on a mode opens the dial click sequence settings, where we can reconfigure the operation of the dial for modes 1, 2, 3 and 4. From the options menu, we can rename each mode, or disable any which we don't intend to use. Within each mode, we can alter the sensitivity of the wheel, and here we increase dial sensitivity to give us the fastest possible scrolling experience. Just because Mode 1 adopts scroll as its default function, doesn't mean it needs to remain so, and we can easily change this to zoom, scroll or rotate with a single click. If our application doesn't respond to the default scroll option, or you prefer to configure alternative functionality, we can map keystrokes to the dial. As you'd expect, these keystrokes should be assigned in a matched pair for increasing and decreasing a particular value in response to the movement of the wheel. One immediate cosmetic change we prefer is to make each colour mode distinct. As there are some similarities at a glance between red and orange, as well as blue and green, we prefer to keep these colour combinations apart. Naturally, this is a matter of personal preference, and we change Mode 1 to red, changing Mode 2 from red to blue. We now have a colour sequence with quite distinct colour changes. It's important to assign functions on a per application basis. The fallback position is that functions will be assigned to the other group, meaning that they will be used wherever a specific application has not been defined. For each application, there are 5 sets of 8 buttons, labelled Set A, B, C, D and E. In operation, these sets can be cycled through using the button at the bottom of the remote when used in portrait orientation. Each set contains 8 buttons, labelled 1 to 8 respectively. Naturally, 5 sets of 8 buttons provides 40 potential functions for each application. Let's configure a new application by clicking the plus icon in the upper right. We want to configure shortcuts for Google Chrome, but we can't see that option in the list. We could click to browse for it, but a simpler option is to run it, which adds it to the list available for selection. We therefore simply click it before clicking next. We now need to select an existing profile upon which our new profile will be based. In the absence of any existing profile, we revert to the All Other Software profile. We click Add, and we see that Chrome has been added to our list of applications. Note that whenever we switch to Chrome on our PC, Quick Keys will also switch its configuration to Chrome. One key tip when making changes is to ensure that they are being allocated to the correct application, which is indicated by an orange stripe underneath the application icon. It's very easy to accidentally allocate a function to an incorrect app by failing to first select the correct environment. Now let's change how button 1 will operate in Chrome. We click it, which prompts the appearance of this menu. Probably the most common use will be to assign a keystroke, so let's click that option. For each function, we can assign a descriptive name of up to 24 characters, and this name will appear on the remote's LED screen. We're now going to set up a simple function to close an open web page, so we name our function Close Page. Where keystrokes are predefined, we can click here to clear them. With the field now blanked, we simply press the corresponding keys, which in this case are Ctrl W, then press OK. We can now see that we have our first mapping assigned to button 1, and it's now simply a case of mapping buttons in the remaining sets to perform as we'd like. Be sure to check out techfixflix.com, where we'll be posting lists of keyboard shortcuts suitable for both this device and the Elgato Stream Deck. Whilst keystroke emulation alone is extremely powerful, let's look at some of the additional functionality offered by default. We can deploy modifiers, including Shift, Control, Alt and Space, as well as mouse clicks and mouse wheel. There's a tablet mode, reflecting the device's true purpose as a companion to a graphics tablet. Again, we won't cover that functionality in this tutorial. There are some very useful navigation functions. We can also launch applications and functions. If anyone from Xencelabs is watching, we'd love to be able to navigate to a specific folder in File Explorer, as we don't currently seem to have this functionality. That apart, we're very impressed with the functionality offered. Clicking the Open Run button and selecting Browse allows us to launch any executable and therefore any application by navigating to it and selecting Open. We can also replicate mouse clicks, the eraser or disable a button to prevent accidental usage. Finally, we can reset to default. We can also remove a selected application which we no longer intend to use. Where sharing between devices, we also have the option to import and export our settings. Check out our back catalogue of more than 100 tech tutorials and be sure to subscribe to follow our future projects by clicking the logo shown on screen now. If you'd like to keep watching, there are links on screen to more videos you might find useful. If you can improve our methods, if you need assistance, or if you just want to discuss anything you've seen, get in touch via the comments. We love to hear from you. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon for your next tech fix.